Hi, good morning. Today is July 11th, 2019. We started off at 9:40, opening the town board meeting and going into executive session for the hiring of a personnel. We are now back in open work session, but we will stand for the pledge. Deborah, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Never understood that clause, ever.
Stop with it. You're gonna have to get over it.
So our first discussion item is the Advisory Committee Annual Report, and this is the Anti-Litter Advisory Committee. So Deborah, if you want to just introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Deborah Wetzel. I'm a resident of Riverhead, and I'm chair of the Anti-Litter Committee. Just want to say thanks for this opportunity. It's my first time speaking to the board. I approached the town back in, I think it was last August or last October, I can't remember, because I was really becoming concerned about garbage along the roadways. You know, people basically throw the stuff out their car windows.
Yeah.
So I called the town and I was connected with Jim, and I've been working with him ever since. And what we did was we put together a committee. We reached out to all of the churches first, and we have several that are involved in the committee. We also have a Latino youth group that's part of my church, St. John's, involved, and we also have several concerned citizens. So what we wanted to do was come up with a slogan for our campaign, something that's catchy. You know, everybody remembers, give a hoot, don't pollute. So we came up with the idea to approach the schools. We haven't had any feedback from them. I think it was the timing of it. I think
Yeah,
we
they've
went
been
to them
busy.
in May.
Yeah.
We probably should try it at a different time of the year. Both
Yes.
principals were receptive. They did announce it every morning, and, you know, it's just a matter of the kids are involved in a lot of other things, but we will try again in the fall. The real goal of the committee, Jim and I feel, is to increase awareness. You know, we can always do cleanups, but I think we wanna get to a point where we don't have to do them, where people actually stop tossing their stuff out car windows. Maybe we come up with a bag that they, you know, can throw it out. We had our first cleanup in May. We had 30 people show up, which I feel was a good turnout considering it was the threat of thunderstorms and rain that day. And we cleaned up 8 sites. And then Jim had the town go around and pick up all the bags, so that was good. Our next meeting is coming up, I think it's July 27th. And Catherine's involved now too, because Jim is, I don't know, Jim, transitioning out? How do you
Yeah,
wanna-
I'm
Okay.
Into about 20
Kick to the curb.
minutes.
So let me be back into the private sector.
But Jim has
He'll be
been a
back.
big help to me. Really appreciate his guidance and support and diligence. So yeah, we'll set up a fall cleanup. And I think the other thing that I'd like to put more focus on is to step up reporting of sites to the town. Because as I understand it, the code is that if there's a property, you know, where it's mostly these wooded properties where, you know, there's tons of garbage, the owner is not taking care of it, then maybe the town can go in and, you know, but I think that would help also. So that's where we're at.
Now, let me ask you, when you went to the schools, you were looking for them to do a slogan?
You were having a
You
contest.
probably ought
Contest,
to, you probably
right.
ought to do it through the, art department.
We tried that, Catherine, when I went to the principal, that's what they did, and they tried the art department, they made announcements every day, we promised a prize.
You may
To
wanna
the
do it
kids
at lower
too.
levels,
Yeah,
because
You
I
went-
know we've done it in the past at the elementary schools, and kids
Okay.
come up with very
okay.
cute and good slogans,
Fine.
so
I came up with
I,
it.
Jim came up with a
I'm
few.
sure you did. Can we say that?
Be said in public?
That's what I said.
No asterisks,
Keep it green,
you
keep it
know.
clean, stuff
You
like
know,
that.
I'd be happy to help you with that in the
Great.
fall, get into, I think the fall is much better,
Okay,
May and June in the schools is pretty crazy.
yeah. So then we'll focus on the elementary school, right?
Trash, make it last. Well, we came up with one.
Yeah, we're trying to come up with something that rhymes and, you know,
And the reason I ended up speaking with Deborah is because the Town Environmental Committee wants to get involved. They've been inquiring about it.
Great.
So I think they'll help out.
great, we could definitely use some help. And we also need, well, we had a graphics person, one of my friends, but her dad passed away, and I think she's going through a tough time, so she can't do it anymore. So we definitely need a graphics person, if there's anyone that you know that wants to get involved, or
So July 27th is your next meeting, do you know what time?
Saturday.
10 AM
Saturday.
Saturday, I'm sorry,
Saturday,
Will, yeah.
and it's gonna be here in the
Right,
boardroom here?
right.
Okay.
Right.
So anybody that's interested in learning more, or joining, or
Right.
helping out, to come to that meeting on July 27th.
That would be great.
At 10 AM here in the boardroom, or if they'd like to, more information, do you want them to call your office, Jim, or you want them to call my office, or?
Maybe they should call yours since we
Okay.
don't have a
Oh, that's
tower
right.
coordinator right now.
So, yep, so if anybody is interested in finding out more about the committee, how to join, how to help, they can call over to my office at Town Hall here, and then we can connect you and give them more information.
That would be great.
But I think the committee was also looking at, you know, the whole idea behind the slogan was to do a campaign for that and then get signage out and
Mhm.
to really push that throughout the town and maybe look at where receptacles are and maybe recycling receptacles, different things all along the way to make it. There's
Hold
nothing
up.
worse than walking down Main Street and you
Yeah.
got no place to throw, well, Main Street looks good, but I mean, there's other areas of town that could use.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
then-
Osborne Avenue, it's like people just drive to go home and they just throw it out the window. And fortunately, we have a lady that lives on Osborne and you see
She
her every
cleans it
now
up
and
too.
then walking
Yeah.
and cleaning up when
Yeah.
she's getting her daily exercise, and she leaves it out for Geo to pick up the bags, the highway department to pick up the bags, but people are just so
I saw somebody on
disrespectful.
Osborne
know.
once throw a whole
I
bag
know.
of McDonald's out the
I
window.
know.
Right
on.
Food in
I
it?
had that once too, like 10 years ago.
I
Picked
spoke
up the
to her,
bag at
I
a red
spoke
light
to
and
the
threw it back
person.
in the car with them.
But I also think it's important to recognize sort of the unsung heroes, because I do see a lot of people walking around when they're going for their walks
Right.
with the trash bag, picking,
sure.
picking things up, so I think it's important to recognize those folks that are doing that also.
Yeah, I tried to get the one lady to be News Review, Person of the Year a couple years ago, remember that? I sent you her picture on Osborne Avenue holding up the garbage in the bags.
I think there's a lot of people that do it just automatically, they
Yeah.
just walk down the street and see something.
Or on the beaches, I see
Yeah,
people
I,
picking up
Right.
on the beaches.
friends of mine drive on the beach and they come back with more stuff they take down, they always clean up the beaches.
The other thing that we were gonna do is when we had the winner of the slogan, we were gonna hold a press conference, and then that, hopefully it would be a child, would get a gift and, you
Right.
know, recognition and all of that, so we were gonna do that too.
I think that's all good ideas. I think maybe, like you said, maybe just the timing was off towards the end of the year. You know, they do have, the town does have summer camps with a bunch of kids in it. I know you're at July, so I don't know if any of them would be interested in doing anything, or maybe, to get involved at all. So maybe not for this year, but to have some sort of program for next year,
Okay,
involved in it.
good
You know what I
idea.
would be interested in seeing too is that, you know, a lot of people come out for the wineries and they come out to the farms. It would be nice, like, if there were garbage cans when you were pulling out, that people could throw their garbage in before they get on the road to go back to where they came from. Then it might stop them from throwing it out the window.
I don't see many wine bottles on the road.
I'm not talking about wine
I'm kidding,
bottles, I'm
Jody.
talking about the McDonald bags
No,
that
no,
they
I'm
eat on the
kidding.
way to the
Could be a
wineries.
requirement of site planning, I think.
Yeah, could be. So something for you, the anti-litter committee to look into, possibly putting garbage cans, because I know when they have it at the fast food places, that there's a garbage can right there, so that when
Oh,
you're
yeah.
taking out your
It's like a
cup
mailbox.
that, you know, you
Right.
drank out of and you're
Underneath
putting a new
fast food,
cup
yeah.
in, they throw it right in, those
right
things seem
there.
to fill up, so
think
make it
it's when-
convenient for
yeah.
people to throw it away.
I think it's when people are driving, they just feel
But
like
it
they don't,
is,
they don't
yeah,
wanna keep
all
it
the
in their
time.
Yeah, they don't
car,
get
and
it
they
out.
just.
I just can't
terrible.
believe
It's
it,
amazing.
right?
I know, I couldn't believe it.
The other thing that I started to do, started to go out to businesses, to talk to them, to say, you know, here's our committee, we're concerned about this. So I do have some interest from Starbucks. They wanna be involved in the next cleanup. Either they would bring refreshments, food, whatever, or they would get their employees involved. If we
Nice.
could get them and, you know, give them a date sooner so they can schedule it,
Terrific.
so, but
I
I
could
think
take
that's
cups up
part of
and
it
reuse them
too.
again.
Yeah, and I think when you stay consistent, so if you have 2 dates every year, fall and spring cleanup, they're the same weekends every year, then it becomes something that
Okay.
people know about year after year, and it becomes sustainable.
Like the stop days.
And I was telling Deborah that I also went to the cleanup in Wading River, and that was huge. So, if we can get some
Yeah.
tips from George,
how
who
they-
organizes that.
Right, they get a good turnout for
Yeah,
that.
they have teams.
Yeah,
And that's both
They have
Riverhead and
hundreds of
Brookhaven.
people.
right.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
it's
also
Riverhead
Brookhaven.
and
It's Brookhaven,
right?
yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
Riverhead and Brookhaven combined,
Mhm.
Okay.
so.
Even in a town of 500,000 people.
There were a lot of Wading River people there, there were a lot of Riverhead people there. I think there were 600 people.
Yeah, it's great.
Total.
Yeah, they had quite a few
It's
people.
really good.
Well,
Just
tell them
need
to
to
keep
talk
marching
up a little
down,
louder,
come on
Lisa.
now.
Microphone.
I know, he's talking to me.
Come to
Oh.
Riverhead.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
Deborah, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
And again,
Thank you so
July,
much, Deborah.
July 27th, Saturday at 10 a.m. here in the boardroom. If you're interested in participating in the committee or have any ideas and want to get involved, or you can either come to the meeting, which would be the best idea, but if not, you can call my office for more info.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Deborah,
Thank
thank
you.
you for coming out today. Really. It's Bayshore? So it's not around the corner then?
I had
Oh,
asked
sorry,
that
North Shore.
117 Main Road be put on the work session agenda. I just wanted to discuss it with the board because they do have a demolition application before the Landmarks Preservation Commission. And Landmarks and ARB are going to be having a joint meeting on it at the end of July. But I think there's some concern as to a building getting knocked down and the land not being stabilized and,
You know what,
orange
let's
fence.
have- let's
If I
have
could just
Bob come
finish.
in, yeah. But if you could, but for your discussion, I'd prefer if Bob came in.
Okay, well, the Landmarks is saying they can issue it with conditions, saying that they would have to stabilize the ground with either hydro seed or what have you until a new development plan came in, or they don't want to approve the demo until such time as a new development plan comes in, because then you have the Sears site.
I would prefer to have Bob come in and be here with us because that involves the role of the Landmarks Preservation Commission.
Okay,
And
so-
what their ability is to
Small.
advise the board on.
Okay, so
So-
I asked for it to be on for work session this week, so I guess it could be on for work session next week, and we'll have Bob attend?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great.
And I did talk to him the other day, he was sending out a memo, with drafting a memo for that, so, because I know that you had asked about it, so he should be drafting that before
Oh,
next
good
work
Lord,
session
just
too.
knock it down already. Good God. Anyway.
Good morning.
I
morning.
wanna be able to use it.
Morning, how are you, sir?
Is it a quiet work session day?
What was that?
Is it a quiet work
So
session
It
day?
far.
is, it is.
Well,
Unless you got something.
No, this, I think this is a
Can we
quick
just,
you
one.
wanna
we have
rile us
just
up?
one conversation, so go ahead.
Okay.
Good
No,
morning,
no.
chief.
Good morning. June monthly report
already?
in front of you, already.
Wow, hey, you guys are getting better.
Halfway through the
Only
year.
you're 6 weeks behind, you're right there.
Uh, Okay, so, pretty par for the course. There was an uptick in crime, which I think reflects the seasonal change. We've seen that in the past, the summer months are busier, so.
Nice growth in the parking ticket area.
Yes,
Well, it's the season with the beaches and everything else
Correct.
open, so.
but they did
Good.
write 700,
Yes,
65.
765.
Very
parking
nice.
some,
So just to remind everybody to be park at our beach town beaches, you do need the beach sticker, you can get that, at any one of the beaches, the attendants are there, from, what are they total, from 10 to 6 now, or 10 to 5, what was that?
10 to 6 it was
10
gonna go to.
So 10 to 6, so you can get your parking stickets there, also at the senior center at, 60 Shade Tree Lane, so
Right.
you need to have the stickers to park in those areas,
on the car, year round,
on the car.
annually.
Yeah,
But they are out there full force running tickets with no parking permits, so.
There's nothing really that stands out.
Yeah, no, so I think the largest uptick in the crime was the pettit larceny.
Pettit larcenies, yes,
Right,
yeah.
which is actually almost the exact number that it went by, so. I kinda looked, we had a few, businesses out there reporting numerous pettit larcenies, so, and farm stands.
Tis the season.
Tis the season.
And the warm weather's here, so disputes are gonna
Right.
be up and disturbances and all that stuff.
The last page, and I don't think you got that in the email, was the overdose. And that's good news there too, no,
Yeah, blanks, good.
no ODs and no fatalities, so.
we just did some of this stuff, I had two for June, right, is my, there's none for June?
None for June.
We
There's a
tried to
bit-
summarize some of it, that's why
Right.
we're trying to figure out how to make it more readable.
The overdoses that we report in this report that is attached is, heroin suspected or heroin confirmed. That's what we're looking at. We're not looking at an alcohol overdose or if someone takes too much prescription medication or
Okay.
something like that. That's not
So this is just,
heroin-based
but,
or an
so,
opioid.
so you just do an opioid
Right.
overdose?
Correct.
Chief, why are the warrants 0 warrant investigations?
That doesn't mean warrant arrests are 0. If you look at the arrest by sector, I think it is, what is it, arrest, no, just arrest, second to last page, I think. There was 15 warrant arrests.
Where is that?
This one
June
here.
two,
It should be the
twenty
second, you
nineteen
got it
arrest.
right there, that's the page you're looking at.
Okay.
Oh.
Warrant, so 15 for the entire, for sectors.
Yeah, that's for this month.
Right. So out of the 81 arrests, 15 were for warrant.
Good.
Yeah, I know at a Live on 25, the officers were telling me that they identified somebody in the crowd that they knew had a warrant out for them, and they scooped him up and took him away.
They're very good at that.
Yeah,
Yes, once that warrant list comes out, they know who to look for.
very impressive.
Soon to change, January 1st.
Yep,
Thank you, New York State.
yep.
Well, the warrants will still be issued if there are no show. It just, it won't be prior for not showing up for the case.
Yeah, they just won't be detained
So,
until
see you
arraignment.
later.
They'll be
Adios.
just released out on the street.
Absolutely. It's a joke.
It is
It's
a
an absolute
joke.
joke, and it's gonna cost us a ton of money.
Yep,
I don't disagree, and I think when that was done, there was no intention for, smaller municipalities such as us
There was no
to be able to do that, and you can only, if somebody's outside of Suffolk or Nassau County, we don't even have jurisdiction to go get them, so.
Well, it depends what the warrant is.
Right, you can be
We
held.
get the
under
warrant
They can be-
endorsed.
right.
By city PD.
Yeah,
and they'll-
Right.
we get the warrant endorsed, we can do that.
Right.
But now we gotta send 2 guys into New York City to,
Correct.
bring one
Give 'em
prisoner back
overtime.
and, right.
There is, I think I spoke about this last time, but I think the DA is looking to refine that.
Okay.
Or the ledge is looking to refine that, so I know
Okay.
the DA is on top of it.
All right, very good, that'll be helpful, they have till January 1st.
That's it, they're busy.
All right, and the one other thing I had spoken to you about, I know on one of the resolutions, we have and I just wanted to bring it up to the board, we have the, chapter 255 for the famous food festival, over at Tanger. Originally, it's a new event, they're looking to have over 6,000 people there, they're closing off a section of the parking lot, they have, a bar there, they're having a band there, they're having a cigar bar, they're having formal seating there. I just feel that as part of that, I know that they have some of their own security, but that we have at least one police officer there to monitor, especially since it's a new event. If next year they do the same thing and everything's all good, I think it's okay. But I think for this first event, that's such a large event in our town, that we should have at least one officer there,
has it come across your desk yet to review that as to whether or not you feel police is necessary there?
We have reviewed it, and, I've discussed this with the supervisor, and we're thinking having one officer there just to watch what's going on.
And
The
have a
first time
security,
around,
he should
right.
have a security,
He will. They'll be in contact with security,
the
they're,
same,
they're very
the
good
same,
at that.
that they have.
Are they paying for the officer?
They'll have to pay for the officer, and if more officers are needed, that's in
Right.
the agreement already, if
Okay.
more officers are needed, but just, like I said, it's such, we had the Fold concert, I don't
It's a lot of
think
people.
it's a lot of people, there's cars driving around, it's just an unknown. So I think that, in light of that, I think we should just have somebody there just to keep an eye
Yeah, see how
on
it
what's going on,
goes.
make sure it's going okay.
And probably a public official just released tasting some of the food.
That would be you.
And also to monitor traffic, because they're having that event for Saturday and Sunday, and on that Saturday, the Raceway's also putting in for a permit for fireworks. So, it's in a particular congested area.
So Mary priced that out and got it over to the town attorney's
Okay.
office, so.
Good.
All right, good,
Thank you.
And they'll
Alright.
pay for the vehicle too.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Do
Thank
we
you,
have,
Chief,
is
you
Greg
were
on his
great.
way?
Thank you.
And I say that, I don't say that.
Have a good day.
Thank you, thank you.
Festival has an, they paid for a fireworks permit also.
But-
So are there gonna be simultaneous fireworks?
No, it's my understanding that the firework is being changed till the 24th, I think.
For the famous food festival?
That is my understanding. I haven't seen the permit. I know that in the resos, there's no permit for fireworks on that day. Did you get a fireworks permit for that date?
They paid $200.
For August?
Well, the date's not on here, this is just their receipt.
Okay, so I believe that
We'll
they're,
check into
according to
that.
Laura, they're gonna do it on the 24th.
Okay.
I'll stop by.
Okay, thank
The
you.
whole festival's gonna be?
No, the festival is on August 10th and 11th,
Right.
but they were going to add fireworks to the festival. Now, it's my understanding that they'll be putting an application in, to have to also
Just
have
to do
fireworks at
fireworks.
Tanger on the 24th.
Just fireworks?
Just fireworks.
Not another food festival?
Not another food festival. But like I said, the application, we don't have that before us, so.
Sorry, stretching my back.
All right, we have, Greg coming in, but in the meantime, if we wanna go over resos, we can.
Can I have one discussion with the board? And I hate to bring things off the floor, cause I don't like when other people do it, but it's something that's been in my craw for a couple of days, and I really wanna discuss it with the board. So, it's nothing to do with that we've done. I had a meeting with Kay Davis, only because for the Friday night concert, I wanted to use the pavilion, make sure that that was okay to use that. Of course, they let me do that on August 2nd. While I was there, she brought up to me the fact that the Polish town is having their Polish Town Fair. And as in years past, for 48 years, well, not the whole 48 years, but they always had Rivet Ambulance on standby. And they would make a donation to the ambulance corps or whatever. This year, they requested the ambulance corps, and the ambulance corps came back with a letter that said, pretty much, and I got a copy of the letter, how we can no longer able to provide these services without charge. We have instituted a graduated reimbursement schedule for standby events. For large events hosted by nonprofits, your charge is $150 per hour, which came out to $2,400. They would have to pay the Rivet Volunteer Ambulance Corps for that.
Mhm.
So they reached out to Flanders Northampton Ambulance, and of course, they love it. They will donate their time and come over, and it's with some rub that way. Well, they're not a jurisdiction or whatever, but, so I was a little bothered by that, because I was like, I know they pay taxes on their pavilion, and they're taxpayers of the town of Riverhead, and the ambulance corps is paid through district taxes that they're part of. So I went and pulled the 255, and I'll pass this down. I'm not sure that on this particular instance that they can do that.
That they can use an outside ambulance?
No, that they can't, that they could charge.
Well, it's a big jump too, from.
I mean, this has never been done before.
2,400.
So, unless we're going to adapt this 255 and take that out, I think there seems to be conflict with that. No, there's no issue with them. It doesn't say you have to use the municipal ambulance. They can use whatever ambulance service they want. They can hire 2 paramedics from wherever
Sure.
to be there. But then, any call that comes in, the Riverhead ambulance is gonna have to respond to do anyway for gratis, really. I mean, part of the district.
Well, it depends. I mean, the ambulance there certainly can transport somebody.
Well, that might be the rub.
That's
That may be the rub from the ambulance corps saying, wait a second, that's an outside agency providing services.
But a lot of events have outside ambulances at their events.
Well, I think all right, I'm not even gonna argue that point, because I don't know, but I think the bigger issue for me is when you have like a fair, or the country fair, or the Mosaic Street Festival, I don't know what they did with Live and 25, I'm sure they probably charged for that as well. This is a new thing, and some of the questions that came up from the Polish Town Civic was, all right, if we're gonna pay $2,400 to the Riverhead Volunteer Ambulance Corps that we pay taxes for, where does that money go? And what's that money used for? And if they're doing that kind of,
Yeah, but the
is it
event.
stabilizing the tax rate? What is
But
going on with it?
the ambulance usually is not at a location, right? So if they're having to staff an
No, they only
ambulance.
stay at the.
But if they're having to staff an ambulance at the event, the ambulance is then not available to do other runs if they have to require to be at the event. So it's a bit different, because if you have somebody at the ambulance barn answering calls, they can do that. But if you're taking one ambulance and putting it at the event as required by the fire marshal and the town code for safety reasons, then that is stationed there for the event. So it is not accessible to the rest of the taxpayers at that point.
Well,
It's acce-
there's
it's
more than
being-
one ambulance, I know, because we buy them, so.
this is,
I'll give
you're,
you that.
but you're asking, and
Right, and I
that's my,
don't think
that's my point.
I don't think that that's an issue, it's never been an issue for 40 years, so, I don't know why it's all of a sudden this year, it's a chargeable thing, I don't know, it seems
Did
like there's a
anybody-
money
Same
grab
thing
in
happened
return.
with Alive on 25 this year. They've always donated to the ambulance, cause the ambulance is there. Ambulance gave them a bill, suggesting that the hourly rate and how much it would cost for the 4 events. And, I was a little taken back by that also. And
Well-
I feel what you're saying.
This letter goes on to say that if you want our services to meet with Algiers, we'll draw up a contract with the price, and da. So they just went elsewhere to find EMTs to work with, so.
What does our contract say with the volunteer ambulance corps as far as them charging for events and
Well, I
them being
don't
there?
know, I did do 255, because I was curious, whether that even applies, I mean,
This would be under the contract that we have with the ambulance corps, so what services do they have to provide underneath the contract? So we'd have to go back and
I'd
look
have to-
at,
I mean, I wrote that
and see
contract,
what,
but I don't remember everything.
yeah, we'd have to go back and see what they're required to provide as part of their
This is still
contract with
new.
the town.
I'm telling you, this is new.
Yes, of
No,
course.
their charging is new, I understand
Yeah.
that their charging is new, so
And I wanna know
it's
what
a
the
change of
impetus to that
policy,
was and what,
but it's a change of policy from the
I guess-
ambulance corps, not
and I
from the,
guess-
from the town.
oh, absolutely.
So the question then goes back to, you know, in the contract we have with the ambulance, what services do they have to provide? You know, if it's a town event, it's a different story. If it's a private event, even if it's a not-for-profit, then that becomes
I'll give you that.
another issue also.
That's why I
So we
think
need to
that-
take a look
I
at the
think
contract.
that's why that section was added to this particular law, that we were looking out for the events that we've recognized for decades, whether it's the Polish Fair or the Country Fair or the Mosaic Street Painting, those things that we know have been here for over 2 decades. I think that's probably why that line was added to this particular code and left in that code. So I think that maybe it doesn't apply in this instance, that's all.
I think they
We'll have
probably looked at our code and said, if the town of Riverhead and town board in their new chapter 255 is charging not-for-profits, then we should start charging not-for-profits too.
I still wanna know
Understood.
where's what,
Yeah.
I don't get it, that's a lot
I
of money.
think that's what probably triggered it though.
We have to research that. We
Yeah.
have the town attorney's office look into the
Yeah.
contract with the ambulance and
Okay.
see
I agree.
what
But
it
thank you.
what
I
it
just-
allows and
We need to
doesn't
look at the
allow.
contract.
I mean, I'm all for the ambulance corps, any way they wanna raise money, I mean, they send out, to the taxing district, I send personal money, like I do to the fire department, I write my check out to them as a donation. But where does it stop? That's all. Where's the
We
there's
contract with
accountability.
them, so we have to look at the contract,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I know we contract.
Yeah, so let's take,
This
we
is
can
on
ta-
top of that.
we could take a look, right, but the question is, can they charge for these services when, you know, their ability to do that?
Can
So-
they charge in lieu of this line in the 255 for this particular?
Okay, we'll have the attorneys take a look at that. Okay, so we will move on to S-Power decommissioning, we have Greg Berman. Jeff, are you coming up also? Okay.
Nice.
You're being evaluated, Jeff, Greg. Careful what you do.
You don't have to be, because it's not like
Thank you.
decommissioning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm here just real quick to follow up on S-Power. We're kind of getting towards the end of the road with them, with their 20-megawatt facility on Middle Country Road. The last piece of the puzzle that's left is the decommissioning plan and the decommissioning bond for, in the event that S-Power is no longer a solvent organization, when the facility needs to be decommissioned, they are to provide a bond to ensure that the town would not absorb that cost. So they prepared a decommissioning bond, which I've provided to you in your packets, and I don't expect you to go through it right now. That's all I got.
No, I got, I'm handing out copies.
Do you still have a copy for you?
Yeah, I got it from me. So they've submitted a decommissioning plan. The town's consulting engineer, Vinnie Gaudiello, has reviewed it. He was okay with the plan, with the cost estimate, but it is noted that the decommissioning plan does not include the removal of the on-site access road. Now, pursuant to Town Code 301-283A3, The decommissioning plan shall include provisions for, quote, retention of access roads, fences, gates, or buildings, or buffer plantings as required at the discretion of the town. Now, I just did a quick analysis of the on-site access road. There's approximately 10,000 linear feet of gravel access road that kind of goes throughout the site. And it's not a public road, it's not used in any kind of public capacity, it's located entirely on private property. So I wanted to bring this issue before the board, so that we can go forward with the preparation of the bond. I generally don't have a problem with the retention of the access road. I mean, when these things come to get decommissioned, whether it's 20 or 25 years from now, you know, if someone's gonna come and develop the property, you know, I think that's something that S-Power can negotiate with the potential buyer, potential developer when they come to the sale. It would provide access through the site. The way the road is laid out, there are probably, you know, some of these blocks in between the access roads are probably 20 or 30 acres. So I mean, it would provide an access road for a farmer if the land were to return to agricultural production. So we're here to just get the board's discretion, what their feeling is on if they're okay with the retention of that road within the site.
Is this, part of the covenants and restrictions for the site plan approval for S-Power?
Yeah, it was part of the final approval. It stated that no certificate of occupancy will be issued until they provide this bond.
Okay, and then, so they are responsible to upkeep the bond throughout the whole duration, the 20 to 25 years?
Correct.
Okay, and that bond equates to the dollar amount that they're saying it would be to decommission, which is?
Yeah, I don't have what the bond amount would be, but
508,461?
yes, that's the estimated cost of removal. I don't know that the bond amount has been calculated, but
Did they have an escalator in it for just inflation?
I believe they do. I think it was 1.5%.
1.5%, okay.
Because it should just be clear in there also that if S-Power decides to sell the site or sell to another power agency, that they're responsible to change out the bond and put the bond in their names. Because that's been a problem in the past where a bond has expired and not been renewed, or a new entity came on board and the bond wasn't replaced with the new entity. And we had difficulties trying to collect on the bond.
So your question, Craig, is whether we're okay with the roads and pathways being left?
Correct.
And they're not paved.
No, it's a gravel access road, really just to, you know, serve if they need to repair the panels.
I have no issue with that.
Can't really
That's
see a
fortuitous to
problem
the
with
next
that.
owner, anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they can
Yeah.
negotiate it with the
Right.
next. My one other question, I know Jody, you had this at one time, and I don't remember if it's Solar One or who it was over on the bike trail. They were supposed to put, some signs about solar and just some information, some educational, signs by the bike trail, just to say what the solar was on the back path over there. Who was that?
I don't know that it was on the trail itself, but I know that when the S-Power came in, they originally said that they would be inviting grade school students to the site to show them how it works and invite them
I thought
in.
there was gonna be some sort of like little, you know,
Educational.
educational, plaque, just to talk
Kiosks or
about.
whatever?
Yeah, do you remember that? About the solar? I
forget
thought they were
things.
gonna.
Remember the fencing issue?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
thought
talked
they
about
were
the
gonna do
fence,
that.
we talked
Okay.
about a 15-foot buffer on their side where they were going to put the bushes in to
Okay.
shield the.
It'd be a nice project,
I think
though.
it would be nice, maybe one of the
Put
Eagle
stations along the
Scouts.
way to,
Yeah, because it's,
you know me, I do a half mile, I gotta stop and take a rest.
who has that over there? Who backs up against the trail? Is that solar?
So, yeah, so
It's
this is
S-Power.
actually the site, when it came up during the special permanent site plan review, the bike trail does, go around the southwestern and the southern property boundary.
Okay.
That's what instigated us having them replace the fence, put the the privacy slats in, make it look nice up there. Yeah.
So I would like to discuss that with the Alternative Transportation Committee, because I know that we have several monuments regarding the branches of service. I don't know if they want, you know, and the DEC in their permit has required us to, call out on the kiosks, the fauna and foliage and the endangered species or threatened endangered species that might be on the site, so I don't know. I'll talk to the Alternative Transportation Committee and see if they want another station that explains solar and how it works.
Oh, not a bad idea.
Cause you go right past it, it's just kinda
Yeah.
cool.
Not a bad
Not
idea.
really gonna see it, though.
And it's the
No, it's on, you see.
Vietnam
you
Veterans
pass
Memorial Trail,
on the-
so
on
I
the-
think that
when
it
you
might be
pass
more
on the bike
appropriate
trail, you see all of the solar.
for the solar
right
site
there.
itself.
So if we just kinda just a thought.
It's a good point. I'll ask the alternative.
So no, but that's not really
That's not
pertaining to
necessary,
the
yeah,
bond,
no,
so
no,
here,
yeah,
you
so
guys-
I
you
think
guys
we're
are
all
good with the
okay,
road,
yes.
retention of road,
Sorry,
and move
you're
forward with
Yep.
the preparation of that, and then, the S Power two or whatever's under. we
Draw
can-
us back, my guy,
That would be the town expense.
He's bringing us back.
Thank you very much, and that's a very nice.
Thank you, nice job.
Thank you, yes, very expensive Mylar.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
Right back.
All right, so now we are on to resolutions.
Hallelujah.
The first is appoint seasonal registered nurse to the recreation
did that.
department.
That's a
Second, the
that's a
second one is to
ratify.
ratify the appointment of a seasonal registered nurse to the recreation department. Three reappoints Jean Marie Costello to the Board of Ethics.
Negative.
Four is reappoints Audrey Zaweski to Board of Ethics.
Negative.
John Lombardi to the Board of Ethics, and the last one doesn't have, I think it's John Menzel. What?
The last one didn't have the name, but it would be John
Oh,
Mazzella,
well,
so-
we gotta fix that.
Yeah,
But yeah, it is, on the actual resolution itself,
For
it says
number-
Mr. Munzel.
number,
Okay.
the sixth one on there. The one other thing, I know when we had talked about this previously about the Board of Ethics, and not just for the Board of Ethics, but also for all of our other boards, I mean, the town board does have, term limit restrictions. Is it something that the board would wanna consider for our other boards as far as term limits for some of these actually for all the boards, that are appointed, not the committees, but for the boards themselves?
I don't know.
I think sometimes you have, I mean, like, the ARB still has a vacancy that hasn't been filled for a few years, so we're grateful for the
These
people
aren't paid
that are
positions,
still
right?
continue to serve.
I mean, I could see paid positions,
Yeah, I
I
wanna fill
can't
that
see
spot.
volunteer positions.
I agree
Well, I'm
with you,
saying
Jim.
for boards, not
If
committees.
it's a paid position, I would say maybe.
But for boards, not for committees, so landmarks is a commission, well, our ARB.
ARB is paid.
ARB, that guy's
ARB
been there for 40
is
years.
paid.
Philosophy, what is it? I don't know, it's institutional knowledge, I don't know.
Yeah, for term limits.
Yeah, I think across the board, we could just do it for all of them. I mean, we have term limits.
So you're talking about the
We're paid-
planning
we're
board
paid
and the zoning
officials.
board and all those boards also?
All the boards, I think. That makes sense.
I'm talking about the boards, anything with the board. But we can also review that also, which ones?
In hindsight, I'm against term limits.
So it's just something I think that we should consider, so we'll put it on for one of the next, the next few weeks for work session, and we can have a discussion about it.
Get a list of all the boards.
Yeah, let me see who's on them before I make that decision. Then we-
That's a great way to make a decision, Jim.
Yeah, I'm only kidding. No, I
Um,
don't think we should on volunteer positions.
Approves the application of fireworks permit of Jamesport Fire Department. 8 is approves the application of fireworks permit of the Riverhead Raceway, Inc. 9 is sets dates and time of the Great Riverhead Cardboard Boat Race.
Yes, get your arms
I
out.
am not.
August the August the 10th, baby.
Because.
Because you have to kneel in the
Yeah.
August the 10th.
10 is approves chapter 255 application of Starfish Junction Productions LLC, Long Island Fresh Hop Festival, Saturday, September 21st, 2019. Because we are getting into the dates, I know that Laura Calamita makes a calendar up. I don't know I think you guys have access to the calendar, so when you're making the decisions around it with these things, or maybe we can put one out, so we know what things are happening on the same day, like the what is that one, some of them, like the Famous Food Festival, and then there's fireworks right next door to that. Then there's another time that there's, just several, there's the Long Island Hops Fest, and then the Long Island Antique Power Association. Not necessarily that one, negates the other, but I think we should have an idea of the number of people that are coming to each one of the events within, when they're within at least a half a mile of each other, so.
Yeah, she has a Google Calendar that's on the shared drive that we can all access, so.
Right.
And then also, I think it would be helpful if we had a town calendar, such as Riverhead Local has, that says what all the events are on any given day throughout any month, that tallies it. We could probably put it up on our website, the town calendar, that will identify events and where they are.
Yeah, we have, well, we don't do we do some of the events, but we do
Like,
some.
we wouldn't do Home Depot rug sale,
Yeah,
but we would
yeah.
do, like, Polish Town Fair or
Yeah, those
Country
get
Fair
listed
or,
already on
you
the
know, so
calendar.
on.
I like Phil stuff, stuff like that.
So the Tanger Food Fest is on here, all the chapter 255s are on here. I'm gonna just take a quick
Yeah,
look.
take a look, I'm not sure if they
It's on
all
our
are,
website.
but,
Looks like it.
yeah.
So, I don't even see calendar on here.
Well, none of these are approved yet, so
Well,
these ones right here, when you were just looking for, you said Food Fest, it wouldn't be on there because it's not approved yet.
full calendar.
And what goes on in e-notifications? E-notifications?
E-notifications, well, you can, we have yard sales even, you're notified of all the public hearings, zoning, planning, town board. There's a whole list of different notices. When people put stuff on the website, but you have to select.
Yeah. So Jody, I think if it's from a marketing perspective a little bit, so people know what's going on in the town, I think that's part of something that is lacking on our website that we've talked about and was kind of in the BOA. We just applied, when we applied for the TOD grant over for by the train station, the Transitory Development Grant. Part of that grant is we leveraged that with a grant from National Grid with the IDA for the marketing for things like that. So that's in the process of moving forward now, and that stuff can be incorporated into that as they
Our
move
town
forward with that.
website.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Well,
good.
the sort of the event portion of it.
And who went through with the web company that we hired back in February to redesign our website? Because I'm hearing that people are having difficulty navigating through it, and I know I've had some difficulty navigating through it, so who actually sat with the web company and redesigned the town website?
I'm assuming that it was IT that went through it. I know anytime you change something, it is a little bit of a challenge in the beginning, but I think once you start using it, it does become more user-friendly and intuitive, which was the purpose of it. And then the other thing was to do less clicks. I mean, everything should be pretty much two clicks away, and a lot of ours was 4 and 5 clicks away to go into a department, to get to this, to get to that. So,
No, our IT
did it.
department worked with them. I
Yeah.
asked them.
So it was just
so
our
if you're finding something is not getting you where you want it to be, or you're not finding something,
Yeah, I just,
please just, let them, know, or let my office know, so that we can, bring it up to them and see what's going on.
Yeah, the only
I
thing
don't
I
find it
thought is
user-friendly.
the
No?
E-code
No.
needs to be somewhere a little
It's
easier.
on the front page. E-code's on the front
Well,
page.
we've talked about it.
It's too obvious.
It's on the front page, it's just, it's
Too obvious, I'm
down
Too
a little
obvious is
bit,
what
you'll
you
have three, what was the sidebar there is now on the front page, just a little bit lower, you'll have the hot topics, the
Beautiful.
links and the links, so it
That's
changed from a left or
I
right.
changed from a hot topic to,
It changed from a left, what we had the drop down on the left side or the right side, I can't remember from the original website, is now just a scroll down, it's on the front page.
I
You'll
don't see it on
Yeah,
here.
let me see, just turn,
So here's the
go,
page,
keep going, right there. Riverhead at a glance, everything's right there.
right? Where does
everything
it
that
say E-code?
I can't see what's listed.
Doesn't say code. I get it mailed to me, I get it in my mail.
Yeah? I don't know why it's not on.
Town code?
Did you see it there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's town code it's under popular pages. But we can highlight that, maybe that's what, on that page, we can highlight some of the ones that seem to be the more popular of the popular pages.
I think we can get used to it. We're getting used to the circle over by Southampton.
Yeah, I'm finally getting used to turning on my laptop. Okay.
Like debris management plan, does that need to be on quick links? I mean,
That may
Suffolk
be a-
County multi-jurisdictional
Some of that stuff
debris
is,
management
some of that
plan.
stuff's requirements, so, but we can go through it, it's
Yeah.
not a big,
I'll go through it with IT and share some of my concerns, and
that works.
they can put it all in one file. If anybody else has concerns, they can do the same.
Okay, I think feedback's helpful for it. Where are we now?
I don't know, you lost me.
We're like
All right,
11.
number 7, approves the application of fireworks permit of Jamesport Fire Department, that's the 27th of July. Approves the application of fireworks permit Riverhead Raceway, that's August 10th. Oh, here, we did the carpool bumpers. So approves chapter 255, we did that, the Fresh Hops. Approves the chapter 255 application of Jeffrey Leak, that's Halleckville, Farm Meat Car Show, September 22nd. 12 is approves the chapter 255 application of Home Depot Development, that's a carpet and rug tent sale on September 1st. 13 is approved 255 application of Famous Food Festival, that's August 10th and 11th. 14 is authorizes the removal of litter, garbage, refuse, rubbish, yard waste, weeds, noxious plants, grass, rank vegetation excess of 10 inches in height upon the premises known as 70 Washington Avenue, Riverhead. The next one is the exact same one, but it's the premises of 957 Peconic Bay Boulevard. 16 is authorize the supervisor to sign a professional services agreement for a strategic plan for Railroad Avenue Transitory Development.
What is that?
That is the grant that we received, last year for the CFA funding for, the transitory development over, at the railroad station. So we had received that grant, and then this is just to, move forward with the grant that we got and complete what we said we were gonna do, which is the, strategic plan for that area.
And how much money was given in the grant?
It was I believe, an $80,000 project, and we got 37.5 maybe, or 25, and then the IDA is, chipping in for our portion of it, I think either 6,000, you can get Dawn to help answer, about 6,000, and then we've leveraged it with the other grant with National Grid for what we're putting in as our portion of the grant. We leverage that as our contribution to the National Grid grant.
And
With the
they-
IDA, we
I
leveraged
know,
it
I know
that
the
way.
IDA was helping with
Yeah,
that as
so
well.
we actually ended up getting 2 grants out of the funding that we're putting in.
And the, okay, so
Okay.
payment, so with the Nelson Pope and Voorhees, it's.
The number, I do not see the number.
I don't see it in here either.
Right, it's part of the, we can have Dawn come in, but it's part of, they gave us, I believe, an invoice at the beginning of when we put the grant in, so. But we can get, more numbers for that.
Yeah, and
before
it should be
Tuesday.
in here just for transparency.
I don't disagree, I just didn't have those numbers when I called this morning. The next one is authorizing funding application to New York State for Consolidated Funding Application, CFA, Round 9. So this is in here. This also doesn't have an exact amount in it, and, Dawn will be working on that and then present those exact numbers to us before, Tuesday, so before Monday afternoon. The question was for the TOD grant, for the Nelson Pope and Voorhees, as far as the pricing for that was,
Okay.
it was like 79, I can't,
75 was
75.
the number, there's a PSA, that's what,
Right.
you should have it attached, I think it's attached, no?
I don't see a number in
It doesn't have a
there
dollar
yet.
amount in there. Is
Oh.
7,500?
75,000.
Okay, but we only got 37,000, I thought, and then we had other monies.
So-
I'd just like to see the breakdown as to how we're gonna
So, okay, so
pay for it.
I have to shift gears for a second.
Yeah,
So the study was 75,000, the grant is a 50% strategic planning grant, so 37.5 was the total that we had to pay, but we partnered up with the IDA, and they gave us $6,250, so, we had, I think we're at like 15, if my math is right, something like that, that was our match for that.
Okay, but that still doesn't equate to 75,000. 37.5 plus 62.50. If you could just give me the break, or give us the
Well,
breakdown
it's-
as
okay, so
to
it's-
where we're getting the money from.
It was, our share was 25 plus, I don't know off the top of my head.
We don't need it right now, but
Yeah,
if you could
it's-
get it to us prior to the town board meeting, that would be helpful.
We had to increase our match, and we did that per a resolution a couple of months ago, because we had asked for 37.5 and they gave us 25. So we had to come up with an additional 12.5. The additional 12.5 was paid half by IDA, so the
Right.
additional money that we had to come up with was the 62.50.
Right.
but we also leveraged this against the other grant from National Grid.
Yeah, and that's where they came, and they're actually getting reimbursed for the 62. So we wound up leveraging this grant to get another 25,000 from National Grid for marketing, so it's all,
Good job.
well, thank you. We're working hard,
I know you
trying hard to get what we can get.
Alright.
So, I can email you all on that, but it's,
Yeah,
you know,
that'd be great, just to see the
it's-
breakdown.
yeah.
And, you know,
And the PSA's got like a hard limit on it, we talked about that, and, we're phasing that so we can get some of the information up front about, to change that, zoning hopefully to allow apartments there, so.
yeah, and the dollar amount should be in the proposal from Nelson Pope and Voorhees, so.
Yeah, it is. So
I
let
didn't
me,
see it in
I
here.
thought I attached it, I apologize.
It might be another sheet, cause it's not,
Let me send that to
yeah.
you right now.
It needs to
I'll
be
send it-
attached for the
I'll send it
town
over
board
right now.
meeting.
Yep,
Great,
absolutely.
thanks.
Next is authorizing an agreement with the Riverhead Central School District for a school resource officer program. 19 is approves the amendment of the agreement with the U.S. Department of Interior, U.S. Geological Survey, and authorizes the execution of amendment number 2 by the supervisor. That's just extending it out another year, for them to complete the work that we've already approved.
So on the fiscal impact statement for the resource officer for the school district, I don't see where it's checked off, will it have a fiscal impact, so I guess because we budget for that officer and he just transfers over, so, and his salary is already covered.
It would just be a personnel salary, same as, it's just where they're going. He's still on our, still an officer with our
And the
department.
school district is still paying half?
Correct.
Okay, cause I didn't see that.
So
The
the,
agreement is attached. I can read it later. I just wanna make sure that's in there.
I don't think it changed much from last year, I don't think.
nope, it's the exact same. Next is resolution to adopt New York State Climate Smart Communities Pledge.
I wanna talk about that a minute. I put this resolution in, this is something that came out of the town environmental committee. Most of the communities surrounding us are climate smart communities, which it's a New York State program, that helps us reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adapt to a changing climate. There are benefits to, having this status, which include leadership recognition, free technical assistance, and access to grants. In fact, there's a grant coming up, that's due, I think on the 26th, which is one reason we wanted to get this in pretty quickly. So there's certain steps that you go through to become a climate smart community, and the first step is to pass a resolution with your pledge, which is what this is. And parts of the resolution are right off the website, the New York State website, because it's very specific. The 10 steps that they list have to be on there verbatim, but the whereas we adapted.
So where it says build climate smart community, inventory emissions,
Yeah,
set goals
those-
and plan for
Those are
climate.
in everybody's resolution. In fact, we even checked other towns to make sure.
So what is the responsibility of the town as far as applications that come in for planning? Are they going to be required to,
Well, right now, it's just getting us started, and, right now, it'll give us access to, getting more advice, networking with other towns that do this, and it gives us an opportunity to apply for grants.
what other towns have this?
Anne Marie
I
checked
think
into it.
Southampton
Yeah.
has it.
So the towns around.
Southold, I'm not sure if they have it, I don't know if, I believe maybe East Hampton, I don't know.
She had told me most of the towns around had it, because we checked their resolution when we were lining ours up and making sure it was correct.
Cause I just wanna know if it is something that is looked at when site plans come in as to what the requirements of those buildings would be, whether they all have to be LEED or they have to be,
When you
built.
do a pledge, you're pledging something.
Yeah, well,
So-
that's why I just wanna,
Well, you can read it,
Yeah, I'm going to.
read what's here.
I just wanna
I
do
will.
my background first before.
And then from that, we register, and then, then we select actions. So we're not even up to that point yet. Right now, we're just passing a resolution that we make this pledge, and we can't even register until we pass this resolution.
I just
Okay.
wanna know what I'm pledging, that's all. So I'll ask Emery. Because a lot of the grant money that developers get when they come to town and in certain opportunity zones, there are restrictions that come with those grants that say that the building has to be LEED certified or it has to be, so I think that, based on that, we're doing a lot of that already, but I don't know that I would, if it was a pledge to have any new building that's built, whether it's a small mom and pop that's building a 1,500 square foot building or somebody
Well,
that's
we're not
building.
even up to that point yet. Right
No,
now,
I
we're
know, but
just
we're
pledging that
pledging,
we're
so
going
what
to
are we
work on it.
pledging to?
Well, I
That's
think,
what
I think, and I don't know, but I think what happens is you move, you pledge to consider these things, and then you move at your pace. Some of the things I believe are the things like LED lighting in your street lighting. It could be reducing the town's use of fossil fuel, where you start to move over to some solar, things like that. So, but I
mean, the
what-
first paragraph, where the town of Riverhead believes that climate change poses a real and increasing threat to our local and global environments, and that it is primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels and other anthropogenic effects, and, you know, we believe the climate change is going to endanger our economy and livelihoods, harm our farms, orchards, forests, fisheries. I don't know that
Do you disagree with that? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know that I agree with all of it, so it's gonna take me a little bit of time to absorb it and figure out and talk to maybe the Farm Bureau and see how it's
Well,
affecting their farms and orchards and,
I think everybody's pretty much in agreement that there's certainly a climate change problem.
right, but I'm also concerned about the fact that, PSE&G has a moratorium right now on connections to gas, so I'm the direction that we're going in, if, that's all, I'm just concerned with everything that's
And
happening.
you're certainly welcome to come to the, environmental committee. Our next meeting is Monday the 15th, and we're gonna be in here at 5:30.
Okay, I'm gonna be away, the 15th, 16th,
What do
and
you-
17th,
how do you-
so.
Okay.
What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, I'm not even gonna be here on Tuesday, so you guys could vote on it without me,
No, but I was asking Tim, what are your thoughts on this?
I think just as a pledge, I think it's okay, because we don't have to really, it's not a firm commitment. It's just a pledge saying,
It's a
look, this is
starting
what we
point.
would like to do, it's some way to get the ball rolling. 'Cause
Well, and there are
some
certain
strong
grants
effects
that we would like to look into, but we can't unless we go through these steps.
Jim, what are you thinking on this?
Without debating the whole thing of global warming and all that stuff, I mean, it's obvious that the weather's changing. What's the cause of that? We could debate till the cows come home, but this is pretty moot as far as I'm, if it opens us up to other opportunities, it would be, kind of foolish not to do it.
I agree.
Well, it says that we get better scores on grant applications for state fundings, state level recognition, a framework to organize local climate change action and highlight priorities, streamline access to resources, training, tools, and expert guidance, and
Energy
networking and sharing with peers. It's happening.
The lights just went
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yes, it's happening now.
Larry
we
was
done,
stre-
Larry? Is
Larry
that-
was- Larry must have fell asleep and hit it with his head.
And I mean, just on a totally budgetary level, just decreasing our energy use is good for our community, just, you know, I mean, we spend an incredible amount of money, on energy. So being able to do that and decrease the cost of that is also good, on everyone's wallets.
Anne Marie, you
So-
wanna come up?
Sure.
I brought it to Anne Marie, she was familiar with it, and
Yeah, so I
She
just want the
tweaked it a
town
little.
board to be aware that the language in the resolution is actually taken directly from the state of New York. And they provide a model resolution. So step one of, this climate smart initiative is to adopt the resolution in the format that is posted online with the state of New York. Councilman Hubbard is reviewing it now, and if you look, it's identical to what we're adopting
Right.
because that's the requirement.
Mhm.
After that, after we adopt that, then begins the process of, quote, selecting what projects that you wanna do. Not that, I don't believe any municipality could undertake all of the items. It's which ones you want and how you go about doing it, and then the type of credit that you actually may get for undertaking that. And so this is the getting
So
started.
this is for the municipality itself to do this climate
Yes.
orient, okay.
Yes,
You're
And the
you're
credit-
pledging to start being
Right.
conscious of these items and
Right.
where and in what form you can address any of these items in your municipality.
and the language
And if
states,
anyone's
must
interested, these are
include
the
these
steps.
items.
And the credit,
these
I
are the
think
steps.
we're all okay with moving
Yeah,
forward
these
with
are
this
the-
resolution. So I think what we
Yeah.
can do is we'll move forward with the resolution, and then we, you know, look forward to then
it's, right.
And Anne
addressing the
Marie,
issues of
you-
implementation
you
or
had
what
seen
we would do
another-
after that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Laura, you had seen that other surrounding communities.
Town of East Hampton did it, believe it or not, in 2010. And there's a plethora of
Oh.
towns and villages.
Southampton,
that-
it's East Hampton, so it has Southampton.
Southampton, I did a quick search, so I
Because we were
pulled up a
checking the
few just
resolution.
checked the language, and that's when I realized they were all identical, and as to why they were all identical.
Part of this is already being addressed, for us with
Right.
the contract we have with Johnson Controls. And
Yes.
making our buildings a lot more energy efficient and LED lighting and everything else, so.
Exactly.
We're already kind of ahead
Well,
on
we
this,
could
so.
probably get some credit right away.
Right.
Right,
Now, this
so,
credit you're referring to is a credit through whatever state agency is oversighting this, but
Well, I think there's grant opportunities.
is that what the credits are used for, to say, all right, well, they've done this, so.
well,
Give a couple dollars
the
or
program is sponsored by the Department of Environmental Conservation, Energy Research and Development Authority, Department of Public Service, Department of State, Department of Transportation, and Department
Oh,
of
my
Health.
goodness.
Right.
Surprised they get anything done with all those organizations. Probably
Oh.
decided by EPA, probably.
All right, so we're okay to move forward?
Thank you, Anne Marie.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Thank you,
Thank
Ansel.
you.
I
Alright,
can't
now I
tell
keep
how nice
losing where I
this
am
is.
here.
It's got to be central, actually.
What number was that?
Good place to cop that. Okay, well, that was.
21,
Okay,
right?
yep.
21.
Approves agreement with, Winship Media LLC, Summer Rose and Bubbly Festival.
Bubbly.
Authorizing removal of fixed assets, transfer of Calverton CDA fund balance for
That's the language.
anticipated billing. 24 is a budget adjustment. 25 is authorizes town clerk to publish and post a notice of public hearing to consider a proposed local law for an amendment to chapter 289 entitled Vehicles, Traffic and Parking Regulations of the Town of Riverhead, and that would be, no parking on Sound Avenue. 26 is authorizes the town clerk,
That's just the public hearing. So
It's just the public
Farm
hearing.
Bureau knows that this is coming, right?
they do. If they don't, are they on the,
I was at the meeting, we didn't discuss it, but.
if not, we'll reach out to them and let them know. Authorizes
Would
town
help them,
clerk to
that would
publish and post the attached notice to bidders for collection and recycling of electronic waste. 27 is authorizes town clerk to publish and post the attached notice to bidders for the town of Riverhead Reeves Beach precast concrete restroom installation.
Nice.
Yeah, so that is,
It's gonna have a 7-foot door in it, I hope.
well, I mean, we upgraded the septic system, so this is part of that capital, budget that we had set aside to be able to then replace
Yeah,
the
yep.
bathroom so that we come in compliance and, we have a usable bathroom for anyone over the height of 5 feet.
I know, it's terrible.
It's really tiny.
Only 12-year-olds can use the bathroom unless you're bent over.
Cause it was built in the 1800s, people were shorter.
28 is awards bid for disposal of town-generated construction and demolition material, and that's it, I believe.
For now.
So,
28,
So
let's see how many
the-
there are.
the public hearing for prohibiting parking on Sound Avenue, normally when we do something that affects one major part of a community, which would be the farm committee, Catherine, has this been discussed with them at all at the agricultural meetings and farm meetings?
Yes,
Well, I sit on the Farm Bureau, we haven't, the farm.
I
farmland.
discussed it at the Ag Advisory.
And
Alright,
we've
so-
discussed it at at the traffic
I-
safety
I
meetings
understand-
that Farm Bureau's at.
Well, I haven't
but
read
it's-
where they're
And I was there for
I
that.
proposing
believe
this.
it
And-
originally came
and
out
they-
of traffic safety.
Is this the
Okay.
entire
It
length
didn't
of
come out
Sound Avenue?
of traffic safety
Yes.
when I was there,
And it's entirely
but,
from the intersection of
Someone
25
called me
and
last
River.
year, I think the chief
Two
called me
extremes
about
and
it
then
last
there's
year.
several-
okay, because we did discuss it at the traffic safety committee meeting that I just attended with Laura, or that Laura put together with, some of the, I think we had 3 or 4 people from, Northville that were there, and we did have Rob Carpenter from the Farm Bureau, and he was saying that adjustments would be made where they could still park on Sound Avenue, especially at Lewin Farms, and back up, but have a service lane to back up.
No, that's on, they park on their property at Lewin's, they don't park parallel on Sound Avenue.
They do, well, that's what he was saying that they wanna do, that they could do, but I think that
Well,
this
they
should be seen by the Farm Bureau first before we publish and post for a public hearing.
Well, just to let you know, I've
Well,
talked
it's what
about it
public
with
hearing's all
them.
about.
I've probably talked about it with them for about a year. Rob Carpenter is aware that it's coming up, and I'm sure they may wanna come and speak about it, but it's a safety issue. I mean, last weekend at Lewin's, it was packed on both sides of the road. Cars were right up to the edge, and, you know, people were at the back of their cars, and toddlers are there, and people are picnicking, so.
I understand the reasoning behind it, I just think out of respect for the farm community, we should
No, I
be
think
letting them
yeah,
read it before we publish and post.
That's gonna be really difficult.
I think that we should let the farm community know, I mean, I've been talking to them, but we can bring it up again,
That's
I
gonna
So
agree.
they
But I-
haven't seen this legislation though, have they?
Well, it's pretty straightforward, it's no parking on Sound Avenue, all the way through. I mean, so it's
I mean,
not,
there's-
there's not a lot of nuances to it.
There's nowhere on Sound Avenue, Sound Avenue's narrow, there's nowhere that there should be parking along Sound Avenue, it's dangerous.
So, and we can notify them that it's up for public hearing, but I believe that that's what the public hearing is for also, to have people come in and address the board about the proposed changes.
Yeah,
And that's the whole point of it.
I can see it being an issue, because I used to patrol out Winnie River, and it's always been that area along Post Landing Road and
It's kinda
Sound
the
that can be
only-
dangerous, but that's only gonna prompt them to find out where the setback is and just
And-
go further off the road.
Which wouldn't be, for safety reasons, would be
Right.
And
appropriate.
actually, that's the only spot that I know of where it's an issue. I don't really see a lot of parking on Sound Avenue.
No, I don't either. That and, the Bailey Hollow Vineyard, whatever it is up there.
Right,
They've
they park
corrected
along
that,
Sound
though.
Avenue.
And they rectified that, but, yeah, that one stretch there in Holt's Landing, and that could be pretty dangerous there.
It actually forces me to slow down going through there and seeing the cars on
Well,
both sides of the
something really
road.
good, 'cause I see the way you drive, that's probably not a bad thing. We could-
Now you're in trouble.
All right,
Oh, boy.
can I get a first and second to go in executive session, pending matter versus Tide Court Realty, a pending matter versus Lyle Pike, GTL Management Corp., and, current litigation in the matter of Town of Riverhead versus, Scott.
That's
All in
a
favor?
motion. All right.
Opposed? So carried.
Lyle Pike and I have quite a history.